And childhood was interesting. My father was a mechanical engineer, worked on the Boeing 707 and the GE Gatling gun, different parts of the country, Seattle, Washington, all the way over to Burlington, Vermont, the GE plant. My father was an individual who couldn't have a path of a normal life, and he ended up being a convicted felon and spending most of his life in and out of prison. And at one point when I was in college, he escaped from prison. He was wanted by 13 states, and so I was raised by my mother and sister. From the time of my birth in 1953 to 1963, we moved I was born in Cleveland, moved to Adrian, Michigan, then to Salt Lake City, then to Seattle, then to Burlington, then back to Toledo, then to Cleveland, all by the time of 1963. So we spent most of my life, from 10 years old to the time that I graduated from OU my graduate school. We spent most of our time in the inner city of Cleveland, 98 Miles Avenue. So my mother worked pretty hard to raise two kids, and she never made more than $65 a week. Struggled through everything, but she always had this attitude about not letting people get you down. So she always taught me about, walking through the door after a crisis, keeping your chin up high, and always persisting. One of the favorite stories I tell about my mother is that in 5th grade, I was playing football. I really didn't care for it. Didn't like the pain, didn't like everything that was associated with hitting. And I was sitting on the curb waiting to make a decision to go to practice, and I just had my girdle pads on, my lower pants, and just a t-shirt. And she came home and she said, "Why aren't you at practice?" And I said, I'm not gonna do this anymore. I hate it." And she said, "Why do you hate it?" And I said, "It's painful, I'm too weak, I need to lift weights." In 5th grade, lift weights. And she said, "How much do weights cost?" And I said, $110. She said, "We don't have that, but I'm gonna guarantee you something. If you go to practice today, it'll take me 6 months, but I will save the money and I'll buy you your weights. But I need you to learn something, that life never gets any better. But if you learn to be a quitter, you'll always be a quitter." And from that moment on, I accepted that path and ended up going to high school on a football scholarship. Ended up being the captain of my football team.
Where'd you go to high school?
Cleveland Central Catholic. Captain of my football team my freshman year and my senior year. And learned to accept that life is made up of a lot of trials and tribulations and pushing and doing things. So that was actually an experience that taught me a lot about what was going to be happening for the rest of my life.